I'm going to show you guys how to do a really cute Halloween design. Alright, so we have Halloween coming up and I've been seeing a ton of cute nail art online, and I thought, what better video to do for you guys than show you how to do some simple, cute nail art that you can do for Halloween. So I have a nail tip here. Now, my nail tip is on just like a nail tip stand. We have these on the Nail Hub in both clear and this rainbow colored gem. And these have a little magnet in them with these different little stands that you can put on them. So it's nice because you can use the one base and swap out the tips on top. So if you're working on a full set of tips, whatever the case might be, you can do that. And then I have a little bit of putty, which this tip stand comes with putty, and then I have the nail tip on top. So I'm just going to use a nail tip to show you guys how this works, and then you can obviously do this on your own nails. All I did to prep this was I buffed the nail tip, and then I put a little bit of non-acid primer on it. I used Light Elegance Tack. It works really great to prep plastic. It's also for, bonding gel to your natural nail, but I really like it for when I work with tips because it does have a teeny bit of methacrylic acid in it, and then it also has a lot of sticky ingredients. Works really well for prepping plastic, and actually it is also for prepping plastic tips. And then I am going to put some base down just so that I have a nice smooth working area. I'm using Cocoist Mega Stick Base. I love this stuff. It is very, very sticky, just like it says, and it works great on natural nails. And since this is a clear design, I'm just going to put some base down so that I have a nice smooth surface to work on top of. I also like working with products that don't have a very thick inhibition layer. So if you've ever tried to do nail art on top of cured gel and it's like slipping around, it's getting blurry looking, that's usually because the inhibition layer of the gel underneath is very kind of like slippery. That's the best way I can describe it. And so you want to have something that cures rather sticky and like smooth and doesn't have a lot of slipperiness to it. I'm going to cure this really quick for 20 seconds in the Cocoist Infinity Lamp. While that's curing, I wanted to talk a little bit about drawing shapes, because I think one of the biggest things that people have a hard time with when it comes to nail art is being able to figure out how to draw shapes. And so if we take a quick look at the shapes that we're going to draw today, they're all pretty simple, and I'm going to break them down for you before we get into doing it with gel. Okay, so a ghost, especially these cute little ones, really all it is almost like a little balloon shape like this. Okay, so if you can draw any type of semicircle shape like that, you're in great shape. And then all we're going to do is just give him a little tail and connect that to the rest of his body. And then you add some eyes and a big ovally mouth, and you've got a ghost. Okay? So that takes care of all of our ghosts. You can do them in different sizes, big, small, whatever you want to do. You can also play around with different proportions on the tail, the body. But realistically, all you're going to do is that semicircle shape, add a tail on it, and 3 dots for the eyes and the mouth. Okay. Then we have our bat. And our bat is really just, I like to start with a V like this for the center of their body. And then we're just going to fill this in and make it kind of more like a U on the bottom. Okay. And you can even connect a little bit more in between. But basically it's like a V on top of a U shape. Okay. Essentially like that. And then we're going to do an upside down V for the top of the wing on both sides, like that. And then we're going to do like an M kind of on the bottom. So you just go down and connect back. And then down and connect. Okay, and then obviously this is all going to get filled in with black. Just to show you how simple it is to do these shapes. Because again, looking at nail art, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. It's really, really easy. And then the pumpkin, I say, is probably the easiest. So it's just a C on one side and a C on the other that kind of almost looks like a heart on top. And then you're just going to add a little kind of triangle shaped stem, triangles for the eyes. And then depending on if you want him to have like a little snaggle tooth like jack-o'-lanterns usually have, you can make a little snaggle tooth on top and then connect his face down below. And then all of this is going to get filled in with black. Okay? Like that. So those are really the 3 shapes that we're going to do. And then you can add little filler dots if you want to. This design has been super popular for the last few years. Alyssa did my nails, I think is the first person I ever saw do this adorable design, and it's been done by many artists, and it's just so cute. You may have also seen it on Pinterest. But I mean, ghosts, bats, and jack-o'-lanterns, I mean, how much more Halloween can you get? So I wanted to just start out showing you how I like to break down shapes and just prep my, I like to practice on paper before I start drawing. And obviously we're going to be fitting this on a nail, which can be a little bit more complicated, but I'm going to show you guys how I do that and walk you through it step by step. Okay, so I have my tip cured with that nice layer of base on it. Let me just make sure I'm in focus here. There we go. Okay, so I have my base on there. I did not clean it. It's still sticky, and I'm just going to leave it like that because it's really easy, especially with cocoas products. They have a really nice inhibition layer on them that does not bleed, and so I really like working with that. So I'm going to start with the ghost, and to do my ghost, I'm going to be using Cocoas marker line. Cocoas has tons of colors. They usually come in jars like this that has like a little color sticker on it. But I'm going to be using the marker line this time because I haven't used it in a video yet, and I wanted to show you all how the texture is, and it's really good for outlines, and it's really, really nice. So I'm using the thick black and the thick white. It only comes in these 2 colors. And then for the orange in our design, I'm going to be using Cocoas E10 Mango Orange, which is a really, really good Halloween orange color. All right, so let's start with our ghost first. Now, you'll notice that if you've ever purchased a Cocoas product before, the new ones all have this little wall on the side, this little lip, and that is so you can actually scrape off your brush as you're working. And then I'm going to be using the Cocoas short liner brush, which is a really nice medium, short, pointy brush. It's got enough bulk to it that you can do filling in, which is nice. If you want something bigger that you're going to be using for filling in shapes, you can also use the pointed brush. So the pointed brush is also really nice. Like if you're going to create circles or squares, or you're trying to fill in like, a shape on the nail first, and then you're going to do your outline later, you can do that. So I'm going to be using the short liner. I'm going to pick up a little bit of gel just to start, and I'm just going to work like that. Now, I typically either like to work with a palette or I like to work with a glove on my left hand. When I'm doing clients, I usually wear gloves the entire time, especially because I'm, working on people's cuticles. There's the potential that, you could cut someone, or that, even if we wash our hands, it's just nice, especially, with everything that's going on. People are probably getting more into wearing gloves at work, but I've always worn gloves. And I also like it when I'm doing nail art because you can wipe gel on your hand while you're working without getting it all over your skin. We don't want uncured product on our skin ever, so you want to make sure you have some kind of barrier. You could also put like some masking tape on your hand right here, almost like you're doing makeup. You can cover this with tape. You can use a palette if you want to, however you want, but when I'm doing line art, I like to do a glove on my left hand. Okay, so let's start with our ghost shape. And so I'm just gonna make a little semicircle. I might need to get my brush a little bit more warmed up because it's not moving. Can you guys see how let me do that real quick and press down. Can you see how my brush is not bouncing back? That's usually because it's got a little bit of product left over in it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a wipe and I'm just going to scrape off the excess, and then I can also just pump a little bit of cleanser like that. And just squeegee out any excess product that might be stuck in there from last time I used this. Okay, so now when I pick up my white, it should bounce for me a little bit better. The other cool thing about this thick white is it literally does not move around at all. Can you guys see how I left that just sitting there uncured? It didn't float anywhere, it didn't run anywhere. So that's why I really like this thicker white. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in. Yeah, my brush feels a lot better. It's like bouncy. It's like the best. So like when I tap down, my brush goes right back. That's what you want. Now, when we're working with gel, it's different than drawing with a pen or a pencil. What you want to think about is pulling and pushing motions. And so I'm just going to make that semicircle shape first. Okay, so you guys can see that. It doesn't have to be perfect around the edges yet because we're going to outline all of this in black anyway. So just get a general nice shape on there. And then I think I'm going to have my ghost go this way. So I'm going to put the tail like so and just flick it out. And you can also rotate and bring it back a little bit like that. Okay? And then I'm just going to connect this part to my tail that I created. And again, pull the product that you already have on there. You know, go back up, grab the product that's in the center of this blob that we put on here, and pull and push and press. It's not like markers or pencil. We want to pull and push. Okay? And it's okay if you don't get it perfectly opaque white in the beginning because you can always go back and add another layer. It's better to work in thinner layers than to try and get it all perfect on the first coat. So I usually leave that alone for now. And then the other thing we're going to think about as we do this is our placement of our other characters. So I have room to kind of crisscross, and if you notice like on my thumb, for example, I don't have every character perfectly visible throughout the entire nail. I have a main center character and then I'm filling it in with like the tail of a ghost or the side of a jack-o'-lantern or part of a bat here. And so that's basically what we're gonna do here as well. So I have room to put a bat up here in the corner or, you know, part of a jack-o'-lantern, whichever your favorite characters might be. And then the other thing I recommend as you're working is give your product a little bit of a chance to self-level so that you're not curing something super bumpy because we want to put top coat over this, we want to line it, and so we want everything to be nice and smooth, okay? So while I have my white out, I'm actually going to put, as if this were like a fabric pattern or something and it's continuing, I'm going to put the tail of, let's see here, I'm actually going to put the tail of another ghost up here. Or maybe his head. So it might not have like a face to it, but I'm just gonna put one more white bit up here just to kind of connect it as if like there was another ghost looking down at my little guy here. And then I'm gonna put my other characters in. Okay, so I'm gonna cure this for 20 seconds in the cocoas lamp. Okay, so next I'm gonna be using the E10 Mango Orange. This is a really nice Halloween orange color. I did stir it, that's why it has bubbles in it. I just took my spatula and just really scraped the bottom of the jar, made sure it's really nice and mixed, and then you just want to make sure that there's no clear gel floating on top. Don't worry about bubbles. It's not like nail polish where it's going to show up in your product. They easily go away just by messing with the surface of it. The other thing I recommend is don't get gel all the way up here where it's crimped. Leave the gel product down towards the tip of your brush. If you get gel all over the handle of your brush, it's just gonna get everywhere. It's gonna get on your fingers. It's gonna go up inside where the bristles are crimped together, and it just creates a really big mess. So keep the gel down towards the tip of your brush. And if you guys watched my gel brush series and nail art series, you know, the nail art brushes, when I was showing you how to take care of your brushes, you wanna make sure that you are being considerate of that. And then also, sometimes when I'm working on filling in a character like a pumpkin, I am going to pick up a bead of product. When I'm lining something or trying to do stripes, if you watched my striping video, I'm going to make sure I don't have any bead of product on my brush. So for the pumpkin, I'm going to make sure I have like a nice little bead of product on here. Okay. So now I'm going to decide where I want to put my pumpkin, and I think I like up here maybe. I'm going to make him stick in a little bit more so that I have room to put like half of his face. Now again, the first coat may not be perfectly opaque, and that's okay. You can also put white underneath the orange if you want to. I find that with 2 coats of any cocoas color, it is perfectly opaque. And so I don't usually put white underneath. I just try to spread out my color as evenly as possible so that that is nice. And then we can even put, let's see, maybe I want to put black up here and black down here. So I'm actually going to put another side of a pumpkin down in here. Just like so. And then I'm going to cure that for another 20 seconds. Okay, so I have this back and cured. I'm going to do one more layer of orange before I switch colors. You may have also noticed that I'm only curing for 20 seconds, and that is because cocoas gels only need 20 seconds in the Cocoas Infinity lamp. You definitely should be following the recommendation for whatever gel that you're using. So if it's 30 seconds, a minute, whatever the case might be, definitely make sure you're fully curing each layer, because I'll show you flash curing when we get into the part where we're going to do the outlines and the eyes and mouth and everything like that. But when you're doing full coats of color and trying to get, everything nice and opaque, make sure you're doing a full cure each time so that all the layers are fully cured. Okay? So again, I'm going to do 20 seconds again. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is, when you're using the same brush, if you're lucky enough to have multiple brushes, great. And I have talked about using light brushes versus dark brushes versus glitter brushes so that you don't end up getting all your colors mixed together. But when you're doing nail art like this and you're using just, your favorite nail art brush, whatever it is, I like to start with the lighter colors first and then go into the darker if that's possible, especially a design like this where it's not over the top. Layers aren't over the top of one another. So starting with white, then going to orange, and then going to black means that you're not going to have black getting into your white part of your design. So I do recommend starting with light colors first and then proceeding into dark colors later. Now, when I clean off my brush in between coats or in between colors, I do use this is just a gel wipe. It's just dry. You can put a little bit of alcohol on it if you want. And I just squeegee out the color into the wipe. You can also do that on a palette if you want to. So if you have just a plain palette like this, you can put a little bit of clear gel even on it and then just work the clear gel into your brush if you want to do it that way. But while I'm working like that, I usually just have a little wipe that has a bunch of remnants of color on it as I'm working, and I'm just squeegeeing off product as I go. And then also, as soon as you're done with any of your pots, make sure you put the lid back on so that you don't get dust or anything in them that you didn't intend to do. Okay, so now we're going to move into our black. And these marker line gels, they're intended to be used very sparingly because you don't need very much. They're able to pull and stretch without breaking. And what I mean by that is, you'll see when I do the striping, but it's just the color is able to be pulled and pulled and pulled across the surface of the nail, whether you're doing lines, stripes, outlines, shapes, whatever. It just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling without it being like an acrylic paint where it looks like it's a paint type of product. This almost is like stretchy, like and stringy kind of, which is really nice. So I'm going to use my black next. I've got my tip here. Okay, so now we're going to do part of a bat body wing, filling in the rest of the nail here. So I'm able to fit a pretty big portion of a bat here and then maybe like the corner of another wing here. So I'm going to start down here. And I just like to kind of wing it, no pun intended. So again, doing that upside down V, almost looks like the top of a bridge. And that's a good idea too for when you're doing art. Start to make kind of like associations for yourself about like what the shape looks like, because it makes it easier for your brain to break things down into shapes than to just think of the whole overwhelming thing. So, whatever you want to do, if it's like letters works for you, or if it's like landmarks, like bridges or whatever. And again, pull your product, put a little bit on your brush, like this, and then just pull the product. And it's okay if it's not perfect. I have practiced many hours doing nail art. This almost looks like a stingray kind of to me. Okay, and then if you want, this is one little tip for you guys. Let's say I want to extend this left corner of the bat wing, right? So I'm pretending like the bat is over here. Here's his body, here's his other wing over here, and he's just sticking his right wing over onto the nail tip that I'm working on. Let's say I want to extend it because I want it to look a little bit more elongated. Rather than trying to put my brush right here and draw across, it's actually easier to pull it into a point. So you can, even if this was a real person, you could turn their hand upside down. So just because I'm twisting a tip around doesn't mean it's not realistic. But start here where you have a bunch of product already. Let me see if I can zoom in just a teeny bit more for you so you can see. Okay, so you can see how I've got this V here and then kind of my M or my N shape here. So if I want to elongate this, start back here with your brush and just pull it like that. Can you see how I was able to just pull? And same thing here, like if I want to bring these down a little bit or if I want to change the shape of them, start where there's more product and pull towards the point rather than trying to draw the point on. If I could give you, any advice for doing, if I could give you any advice for doing nail art, it would be think about pulling towards where you want the product to go rather than trying to draw it on, okay? Now, if you're happy with something that you just did, rather than risk it and go forward with another part, cure it, even if it's just 10 seconds in your lamp, give it a little cure so that if you need to wipe anything off that you're not happy with, that you can do that. But I'm just gonna take this and cure it really quick. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill in this other side. So let's see if I can actually get a bat body going on here. So like I said, I'm gonna maybe do his head right here. So again, it's kind of like a V-U shape with these cute little bat ears. I can make like a little blob for his body. It's really just his head. It's kind of what we're doing here, but can you see that? And then I'm gonna do one wing here. He's gonna be kind of a little guy, so I can fit him in here. And then I'm gonna do the other bottom part of his wing. A little bit more product on my brush. And bring that down. And then like that. So I've got the little outline, and then I can just fill in this whole part. The other nice thing about clear designs is because we do have a clear nail underneath, the gel does tend to cure better. Cocoas cures really well, even if you do thick coats or if you're doing lots of layers of, heavily pigmented colors. But, depending on what you're working with, every gel product is different, but it is nice when you're working with clear products because things just cure better. And that's also why it's really important to use a nice high quality lamp. So I'm just gonna kind of make the left side of his wing there. And when we do our outline, if you wanna make the ears, slightly more pointed, if you want to perfect those things, I'm going to do that part when I do my outline because I still have a lot of outlining and stuff to do. I'm just getting the general shape and everything here. All right. So that's how I'm going to fill this in. Now, if you come back and you go, oh, you know what? Like, I feel like I could have put something else in here. We are going to put some like little dots and stuff like that, but I could also make my ghost on the top a little bit bigger, which I actually might do. So I can still go back and extend my upper ghost to come down, and you could even put like a little heart like they're kissing or something, would be really cute. Okay, so I extended the white upper ghost a little bit more just to bring it down so it's a little bit more even. And I'm sorry it's hard to see with my black gloves on. But I've got my bats on either side. I like to kind of do that where things are not necessarily across from each other, but I do kind of like that. I tend to do that when I do nail art. It's totally up to you, personal preference. And again, you can switch on every nail what the primary character is, so you can play around with that. Like on my 3 different nails, I did the bat was the primary, then the jack-o'-lantern, and then the ghost on my thumb. Okay, so before we move into the outline and all of that stuff, I'm going to use my same short liner brush to do eyes, mouth on the ghosts, because I need them to just be kind of little dots. And then I'm also going to do my little filler dots too while I have the same brush and product out. So I'm using the same black as I did before. I'm just going to put a little dollop of product on the tip of my brush so that it's nice and round to make little dots. There we go. Just like that. Now I have a teeny string of black that accidentally went on the white. Don't worry about that. Before you cure, take a clean gel brush like that. It has a teeny bit of gel on it too, because I always have gel on my brushes, but I'm just gonna moisten it, like literally like barely moisten it with a teeny bit of alcohol. And what I'm gonna do is go against that to scoop it up. So just push. Just be careful not to touch any other part of your design. And clean in between. Anytime you're gonna touch it again, make sure you clean, clean, clean. Just go against it and push it back even towards that eyeball. There we go. Can you see how I can just clean that completely off? And then you can go ahead and cure that. And then right before I cure, for the final time on this, using this brush, I'm just gonna go in and put little filler dots. So I just touch down like that. You can do little trios followed by, you know, little independent dots elsewhere to fill it in. Little trios, little duos. Like that. I can even cover up the number on my tip here. One there. Like so. And that just helps kind of fill in the design. Okay, I've shown you guys this in my striping video, but I want to show you one more time about how to get product into your brush for doing outlines and fine lines and anything like that. I am using the Light Elegance stripey brush, which is from the Selena Riden collection. And I like this brush because it's very thin, it's nice and long, and the idea with using a longer brush, some people go, oh, I'm gonna use like a short liner brush for doing fine details because it feels easier to control, but actually it ends up putting too much product. So what we want is we want a nice, really thin, long liner brush like this, and it's going to act like a fountain pen where it's going to suck up product into the bristles, and it's gonna allow us to deposit a nice even coating all the way along. So in order to do that, now you can use a spatula for this if you want to, but I'm just gonna grab a whole bunch of product with this. Don't use it like this. Deposit it onto a palette or the back of your gloved hand, whatever the case might be. And what you wanna do is you wanna kind of jiggle and pull the brush through the product to get it in between those bristles. And then you're going to pull the brush on your palette or your gloved hand to be able to get one nice even distribution of product. Can you see that right there? So I have no little dollops at the end, nothing like that. And if you have any rogue hairs, like I have one little rogue hair at the very end, see how it goes first before you cut that off. If you are gonna cut it off very carefully and only the part that's sticking out. So the big thing is that jiggle and pull so you get nice distribution of product all the way along. I like to start in a very easy spot, like something where it's smooth and it's just gonna be pulling, and it's just like when I did stripes. So you're just gonna kind of like put a little bit of product on the nail and pull. And when you get to a spot where you're gonna turn, just pick up and come back. Now, if you love this, like if you feel like you did this so perfectly, it's so even, you're happy, 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 go ahead and flash cure this for 5 to 10 seconds in your lamp, because you can always come back and add more product and keep going. If you end up doing the whole design in one fell swoop, everything's wet and nothing's cured, and you mess up on one part, it's going to be very difficult to start over. So feel free to flash cure in between strokes. Any part that you're happy with, lock it in. Okay, so like I'm gonna flash cure that because I'm happy with that. All right, so I have that flash cured. Now I'm gonna turn a little bit more. I'm gonna put my brush down right on that black part that I already did, and then I'm gonna come back and just pull a little bit more, pull towards his tail, like so. And if this is your client, you know, just like I said, stop, rotate their hand, whatever you need to do. I'm gonna pick up some more product. Okay, and let's say like I completely mess up like that. I'm like, oh dang it, like I don't like that at all. And let's say it's a big portion that you don't like. Make sure you use a clean wipe, put some alcohol on it, everything else is cured. You are gonna get a matte effect because we've got, you know, base coat and stuff on here, but it doesn't matter. You can try if you want to like fold this up in a little corner and just wipe off the part that you don't like that. Or if it's really bad, you can wipe off the whole side, like so. Okay. You can also wipe off the entire nail and everything else that's cured will stay. So let me just show you that for camera. But yeah, if you really mess this up, the cool thing is if you've been flash curing all along, all of your awesome striping work that you did that you liked will stay. And all the stuff that you didn't flash cure will go away. So you can start over like that. Just make sure you're using a new wipe every time you do that, because otherwise you're gonna end up smearing colors into each other. Okay, so we have one of our ghosts outlined. I'm gonna move on to one of the jack-o'-lanterns just to show you guys how that works. So again, go around the outside, outline the jack-o'-lantern, and then I'm going to put his face over here as well. So to do his little triangle eyes, you want to make them very small, so make sure you do a nice job of getting product on your brush. So we're just going to do, I'm going to do one triangle because you're probably only going to be able to see half his face. There we go. Okay, so one little triangle, and then I'm just going to draw his mouth. I move my thumb for myself, like that. And I'm just going to make this a little bit more pointed. Like that. And then last but not least, you're going to go through, and if you want to perfect any of your bat wings or anything like that, you can do that. But just keep continuing doing the outlining, just like I'm showing with the little triangles and the faces. And again, if you're going to do one of the pumpkins as your centerpiece, then you can also do the little snaggletooth and the stem if you want to on that guy. But you're just going to keep connecting all of them. You can see like over here I've got half of a jack-o'-lantern just like I just did on my nail tip. You're just going to keep going through and outlining everything, and I'll be back in just a couple minutes. Okay, so I have my finished nail. I did all the outlining and everything, and now I'm going to put matte top coat on top. This is Cocoa's Velvet Matte Non-Wipe Top Coat. And I like matte over designs like this because you're able to see it a lot better. You can absolutely do shiny as well, but sometimes the reflection on nail art makes it difficult to see all of the details. So I find that matte makes things a lot easier. And it also just makes it kind of that cute, crafty look. So just do like a nice even coating and then do a full cure. So there you have your cute little Halloween nail design. Super simple and easy. And I really encourage you guys to practice hand drawing, you know, different shapes with gel. Gel makes it very, very easy. And again, you know, when you're not filming on camera, you can spend a lot more time, you know, perfecting your line work and going over things if you want to. Practice, 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 because it definitely makes perfect. And I really encourage you guys to try something fun for the Halloween season. All right? See you guys next time. Bye.